So it's great to have you all here tonight. We're going to be talking about food and food preparation, and we're going to have people chime in and maybe give their favorite recipes. And then we have Scott's going to do his thing a little bit first, and then we're going to I might do our thing with Christine. Then we're going to have few other volunteers who have chosen to chime in, and then whoever else in the group wants to chime in. So it's going to be a fun topic. You're going to see a lot of pictures tonight, eventually, of various food things, and I hope you don't get too hungry. Before we carry on, we want to have Dr. Colgrove clarify this topic about when you introduce peanut butter or peanuts to kids. There's, there was a question about that, and I think it's much earlier than it used to be, and maybe you could address that for us.
Yeah, sure. When I was in training, they would tell people not to expose kids to peanuts under a year and a half. And it never really made sense to me, because you look at cultures like Thailand and India, Africa, people where they're using tons of peanut products from very early ages, and they don't even know what peanut allergies are really. So so I would never really tell my patients to avoid it early. But now with the science, with some studies have shown that if you expose kids to peanuts by at least 6 months, so you can do this before 6 months. So I know it seems really early, but obviously you don't give them a peanut, you crush it up and then you sprinkle it on food, or you just take a little peanut butter and thin it out. Yeah, so doing that and mixing them with the other food. So, a lot of kids don't start solid foods until 6 months of age. So the answer is 6 months of age, but you can do it if you're feeding beforehand to do some peanut exposure before that. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that.
You're quite welcome.
Okay. So now, Scott, we have plenty of people in the room, 44 already. It seems like we've got a group, and we're curious about what you have to share. And
do you want me to start out with some of the handouts and stuff that I have?
Sure, I do. And the group does.
All right, let me share the screen here. So as always, I'll go to the class website. Here it is. And so I'm going to run through some of the resources here, some more briefly, others more thoroughly, based upon, some of these I went over in class at the introduction of class a couple of weeks ago. So under resources here, if you hover over resources, we have the different handouts. You can click on handouts. And the ones that I'll just kind of remind you of that I did go over in the introduction class 2 weeks ago is the traffic light handout. So that's kind of just the red, green, yellow, and red light foods, kind of a reminder. So as you're planning your meals and you're looking up recipes and things like that, you kind of have an idea what categories of the foods you're trying to eat are, where they're from. There's that one. And then kind of the meal building basics one I went over last time as well. This is kind of, if you're the one I went over where it was kind of like, well, you're not really sure if you're ready to make a recipe yet or buy a cookbook yet. You're just kind of wanting to know what does a whole food plant-based meal look like? And so kind of the building blocks of a plant-based meal. And this is kind of the most simplistic way to look at it. And it's there's both sides here. One is just kind of the basic building blocks. And this is examples of breakfast, lunches, and dinners, not even really cooking any kind of recipe. It's just kind of like what meals look like on a plate. And Charlie will show some pictures of different meals and stuff. This is the most simple way to look at it, so that you could even, just for an example, if you're somebody that like, well, I'm not exactly sure I want to get a cookbook yet, or go on to one of these websites, which I'll show you, that has meal plans and grocery lists and all the different kinds of things you have access to through these classes. You're just like, okay, well, what if I just want to throw something together really quick, not even really get that involved with anything? You know, it could be as simple as taking a sweet potato, throw that in the microwave for 5 or 6 minutes till it's soft, and then buy a $1 can of beans, any kind of bean that you like. You know, at Fred Meyer, it's $1 for a can. Throw half a can of beans on there, maybe steam some broccoli, throw on some salsa, some red sauce. Boom, there's a meal right there. You don't even really have to get real fancy about anything. So just an example, and this handout here has just examples of other kind of Mexican theme, Italian theme, Asian theme, and the Northern European Irish theme is the potato, for example. So that's just a kind of an example of how easy and simple this can be. But hey, we can show you all kinds of resources to get more creative and make things more interesting and get a lot more variety and things like that. Another handout I went over last time briefly is this evidence-based eating guide, and this is essentially Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen app that's in paper version, or here it's electronic version. And this is just a way you can kind of build meals through the traffic light system, similar to my traffic light. And I went over 2 weeks ago in the introduction class. You can go back and watch if you missed that. And kind of some of the differences between the traffic light handout I showed earlier and this traffic light system. It's a little bit different, but you can still just go through and basically start how to add how many servings of beans and fruits and vegetables and greens and all the different things right here that you want to try to get as many of these 12 things into your diet plan every day, into your food plan. So as you're designing meals, planning meals, you can kind of refer to this. So that's another resource. And then I also want to go, let's see here. Let's see, I think that was all I wanted to show on this. Well, I'm going to go over this meal planning ideas handout here. But before I do that, let me go, because that'll take a little bit of time. I want to go to, let me go back to the website, oops, and show you some of the other resources. So here's the recipe website, so you can click on that. And this is where you can get all kinds of free recipes. You can get meal plans. You can where they send you, like, here's your meal plan for the week, and here's the shopping list for everything you need for each of these things. And these are a lot of the great websites that have a lot of those things. You know, Forks Over Knives. Dr. McDougall has a lot of free recipes on his website. Engine 2 Diet, also the Monkey and Me Kitchen Adventures, so and the 21-day Kickstart. So these are just some links to websites you can use for recipes and meal planning as well. And then of course you have the list of cookbooks are here. So these are I showed this a couple weeks ago as well, just some of our favorite cookbooks that are here. So those of you that are new can refer to that. And then also let's see. Oh, recipes. We have the Facebook group, which I have the link to on the homepage. I'll go back to in a second, but we've had a lot of people that are on the group Facebook group for this class. They've been sharing recipes there, and we're going to try to get, so you guys have, those of you that aren't into Facebook or have Facebook or comfortable with Facebook, you can just hopefully get those same recipes that people post on the Facebook group here on the recipes section. And all we have on here so far is the recipes that people brought to the potluck we had back in 2019, pre-COVID. We at the end of each class cycle, we had a potluck, and it was great. And so these are just some of the many recipes that were brought there. And we have 3 other recipes posted here, but we're working on having you guys add more recipes to this here. And you can click this link here to email your recipes, and then I'll forward them to Tammy, and Tammy will get them posted on the website. So we want to try to build this resource for you guys. And then back here on the homepage, this is the links to the Facebook group. So this class Facebook group, and then Dr. Colgrove, who just spoke about the eating the nuts and the kids earlier. He has a Facebook group here for pediatric, and this is a great resource too. You can post a question there. And if you have questions that are, pediatric, child and family related, he's a great resource for that. Or if you just want to email him directly under About Us here, which has Charlie and I, and then here's Dr. Colgrove, pediatrician. Here's his email there. So just wanted to give you that. Now, let's go back to the handouts. And I wanted to go over this one other handout here. This is the last thing I wanted to go over before I let Charlie and Christine run the show here, is the meal planning ideas handout. I put this together a while back. I'll enlarge it here. And I do kind of want to just run through it because I mean you guys can read it on your own and whatnot. But I kind of want to. I think it's great for this class to kind of spend a little time going over this. And so these are just some of my ideas, and you can kind of, this is just to kind of give you an idea of things that you can do. Just these are just examples. And so for breakfast, you know, I'm kind of for me, I'm more of a sweet rather than a savory person. And so I just tend to like to eat oatmeal or fruit or things like that, or smoothies. So those are, you know, a lot of you like those kinds of foods for breakfast, but a lot of cultures, and Dr. Greger even mentions this in his videos about, you know, trying to add things like beans and even greens and things like that, which aren't really traditional foods that people in America tend to eat for breakfast, but a lot of cultures, a lot of countries around the world, they do. Like I know in Britain and other countries, they tend to eat beans with breakfast because that's really good. Actually, there's good science behind that eating a little bit higher protein foods in the morning is good. And then as far as it's better to eat a higher carbohydrate, lower protein meal in the evening, and it has to do with circadian rhythm and sleep, having good sleep and things like that. So there's some science behind it. But so you'll see like what Charlie and Christine a lot of times eat for breakfast. It happens to be beans and greens and grains and things like that. But maybe some of you might be more like myself, who I've just kind of grown up eating kind of more sweet stuff for breakfast. And so that's where I stick to the oatmeal. And this kind of has a list of some of the things I like to put on my oatmeal: cinnamon, cocoa powder, blueberries. You can put it bananas, strawberries. And I use one of the nut milks. I use the oat milk. It's what I'm into these days on my oatmeal. And I cook it in the microwave. And then sometimes smoothies, sometimes just fruit. So that's just kind of some basic breakfast ideas. And then lunches and dinners are kind of similar, but these are just some other ideas for lunch. And I tend to eat dinner leftovers for lunch most days. Like today, just for example, last night we had a squash cauliflower soup that my wife Angela made, and so I had that for leftover. But then I just threw a sweet potato in the microwave just a little bit ago, and it's cooled off now. And I throw that into a container, and then I'll throw it to change it up. Instead of just having soup, I'll throw the soup on top of the sweet potato. So that's a great lunch. And then here's some other ideas: sandwiches. You can do just like hummus, lettuce, tomato, cucumber, avocado on a good, like a Dave's Killer bread, or some really good whole grain bread. It's just, if you really kind of you're into more traditional lunch types of stuff and you want to eat something like a sandwich. And then there's some recipes here for a couple different types of sandwiches that are kind of like mimicking something. So like the chickpea salad sandwich, potato meets egg salad sandwich. These are in some of the cookbooks. It's the plant that have the cookbook referenced here in the parentheses here, and at the bottom I actually have what those are. Those resources down here at the bottom. Some are from some of the websites, Minimalist Baker, Monkey and Me Kitchen Adventures. Some from different cookbooks here. So just when you see that as I scroll down, those are listed at the end. And so there's that, and then. You could always have cut up vegetables for a side, fruit for dessert. Of course, those are sides of, or cut up vegetables and fruits always make good snacks too if you're kind of feeling peckish and it's not really mealtime yet. And then there's this where a recipe is for a oil-free hummus, because you want to because most of the store-bought hummuses have oil, and so there's a recipe for that there. And then it's kind of where I'm going with this, and with lunches and dinners, kind of when I say traditional meals, because you can make it really simple, or you can, if you've seen the previous cooking demonstration that Charlie and Christine have on the website from last year, sometimes that can be intimidating, because if you're going from restaurant food, fast food, kind of traditional American meals to suddenly eating huge amounts of steamed greens and beans and whole grains and things like that, that can seem intimidating at first, because that's a big change. And so kind of why I'm kind of presenting this some of these particular examples is because this is kind of maybe people that are newer to this, it might be a little bit more in your wheelhouse. Like, okay, well, that kind of makes, that I can see what that looks like, and I can see myself eating that. And so it's some things like veggie skillet lasagna, which is a recipe. Of course, it's always going to be fruit for dessert. Grilled veggie burgers that you can make that are here. Vegan meatball recipe. I think it uses black beans and quinoa and some other types of grains and stuff to make meatballs. And then there's a chili sauce that can go with that. There's mashed potatoes, steamed vegetables, or a side salad kind of to go with that to make that a whole meal. There's another recipe for a crispy baked tofu nuggets that you can make. And I know Christine talks about making in their air fry, they make tofu nugget kind of type of thing too, I believe. And then a vegan skillet chicken and dumplings recipe. So that kind of sounds, it's chickens in quote, of course. It's not really, hasn't really have chicken in it, but just kind of things that like, okay, that would be interesting to try. And then of course soups make a great meal anytime, because kind of with any way of eating, we've all eaten lots of soups and stews and chilies and things like that. Like I tell patients at work all the time that they're not even really ready to jump into to the level of involvement that you guys have here that are here right now in class, that they're not ready for that yet. But I can just go over that traffic light handout and say, hey, let's just try to figure out ways you can eat less red light foods and more green light foods, eating kind of traditional meals. And that's where I say things like, hey, we all like chili, right? So instead of a Texas beef chili, let's do a 5-bean chili. Or instead of a meat lasagna, let's do a veggie lasagna. Instead of a white flour pasta with meat sauce or Alfredo sauce, let's do a whole wheat pasta with a tomato-based marinara sauce. And let's then saute up a bunch of onions, peppers, mushrooms, zucchini, throw in some spinach, and have a nice chunky vegetable tomato sauce to go on there. Or, okay, so Mexican types of foods, instead of a beef and cheese burrito or a beef and cheese taco, or let's do a veggie, or let's do a rice bowl with like a burrito bowl, or you could do a burrito or a taco, but just let's use beans and veggies and salsa and brown rice and quinoa and things like that to make the same kind of food you were making before. You're eating kind of the same thing, but it's just got, now it has more green light foods in it, and we've taken out the meat and the cheese, for example. So just kind of examples of things people are traditionally eating, but just kind of substitute some ingredients to kind of make it more plant-based, if that makes sense. And soups, also going back to the soups, are really great because they are really great for weight loss, because most of the weight is water, and we tend to eat them slowly. They're hot, we sip them, so we tend to feel full more quickly. And then they're really low in calorie density because you're eating beans, you're eating lots of vegetables, and we're sipping on it. We're eating it really slowly. So it's a great food choice if you're trying to lose weight. And then here I mentioned your favorite chili recipe. Just add more beans, leave out the meat. And then pasta, kind of the examples I was giving you earlier, the whole wheat spaghetti, and instead, or there's also quinoa pasta, red lentil pasta. And then here's kind of example of the marinara sauce you can either make from scratch, or if you're short for time, there are some that are pretty low in oil. I mean, pretty much none of the store-bought tomato sauces that I've found are oil-free, but I know one that I've used in the past is Paul Newman, Newman's brand marinara. It's like, if you look at it, it's like it does have some olive oil in it, but if you look at it's way down the ingredients list. And when I do my food label reading class, I'll be able to teach you kind of how to read that. But there's a 20% rule that we use for fat. So if it, there are some that just have a tiny bit in there, and if it, just for example, the tomato-based marinara that Newman makes it's only 15% fat, which we have this 20% rule. So that means, wow, it doesn't have very much oil in it then. But if you compare that to Yum sauce, many of you guys know what Yum sauce is, right? From Cafe Yum. You can buy it in a jar. So if you apply the 20% rule on the cafe yum sauce, it ends up being 95% fat. So it's pretty much all oil. So whereas the Newman's marinara is only 15%, so there's just a tiny bit of oil in there. So we'll more on that when I do the food label reading class. And that class is also recorded on the website from last year if you wanted to jump ahead to that, but I will be doing that class again in the future. So there's some more examples there with the pasta. There are mac and cheese recipes like in the Forks Over Knives cookbook, they have one. This creamy fettuccine that's in the plant-powered families. And then this is just some tips I have on salad as a meal, because I see people make a lot of mistakes when they go plant-based and they eat a lot of salads because they think, well, okay, this is plant-based, so I just sit and eat salads all the time, right? It's like, you can, I mean, but if you're going to make salad a meal, you really got to do it right. If salad is going to be one of your main meals of the day, which I do recommend, it's a good way to get a lot of your daily dozen foods in there. But your eyes have to get big. You have to use like a mixing bowl. I mean, because salads, all these non-starchy vegetables that you're making your salad with, they're all 100 calories per pound or less, so that they're really low in calories. And so if you're trying to get even 600 calories for a meal, which would be pretty decent, depending on the food you're eating, say you were trying to get 600 calories worth of vegetables, that would be, like you'd have to get like 5-6 pounds of vegetables in to get, essentially 600 or 6 pounds of vegetables to get 600 calories. So that's no way you're going to be able to eat that much. And so you start off with a big mixing bowl if you're going to put all those non-starchy vegetables in there. So then it's important to fill you up and to get enough to eat that you got to add the starchy vegetables. So you got to add things like beans and cooked grains like quinoa or brown rice, and add the beans, lots of different types of beans, maybe even cook up some baby red potatoes to throw in there. Avocado, because that'll give you some more fats and calories and stuff to satisfy you, but not too much, of course. And then a handful of nuts and seeds in there. And so you got to kind of add the starch to it. Again, so those are the examples of starches, would be like, beans and potatoes and sweet potatoes and other whole grains, and then add some small amount of nuts and seeds, because then that way you're going to be full. You're actually be having enough calories and take up enough space and get enough calories to satisfy you. So that's super important if you're going to do salad as your main meal. Otherwise, if it's just a side dish, that's a great idea too. Then you don't have to add all those starches, because if you have a starch with your main meal, let's say a potato or something like that, then the side salad, or even the pasta, then the side salad you have with it could just be non-starchy vegetables, because you don't want that to be, super filling, because that's just a side dish, for example. And then it's important to use the oil-free salad dressings. I wanted to show you that. I'll come back to that because I have a list of no oil salad dressings on the website. So I'll show you where that's at here in a second. And then kind of the same idea and I kind of gave you this example earlier, the potato as a meal example, how you can stir fry veggies and throw it on a potato. So that's a good thing. So I won't spend any more time on that. And then there's some other just kind of stir fries, ideas on stir fries. There's some recipes here for an orange veggie stir fry, cooked grains and vegetables. And so it's kind of like Thai food, Indian curries, things like that. There's all kinds of stir fries in the cookbooks and things that you can thing. And these are more traditional things, because think about it, we've all gone to to Chinese food and Thai restaurants and things like that. And if you're cooking it yourself, you can kind of keep the oil out of it and do it in a healthier way. And because at the restaurants, they tend to put lots of oil, lots of salt on everything, because you have to remember, they're trying to appeal to the standard American population. And the standard American diet is so full of sugar, salt, and fat that at restaurants, they have to add a lot of sugar, salt, and fat to get it to taste good, so you'll come back. And so that's the slippery slope when we go out to eat, because we can eat that food, but it's going to come with some of the things we don't want so much. And if we are going to eat there, try to ask for no oil and try to don't do it on a regular basis anyway. And then here's the Mexican food idea, and I kind of went over that on the the meal building basics handout as well, but there's some recipes here, like the quinoa tacos. We actually, Angela, my wife and I, we make these every week, probably for several months now. We haven't gotten tired of it yet. It's a really great recipe for the quinoa. Basically, you boil it and then you bake it, and it kind of makes it crispy. So it's kind of like hamburger texture. And so it's just quinoa with some salsa and some Mexican spices and stuff in it, and it makes it really good. And then we, make a big taco salad with it. So I have tons of greens, and then I put a bunch of the quinoa in there, and then I do tomatoes and avocado and some red sauce, and we also have a recipe for a tofu sour cream that we use that's in the Forks Over Knives cookbook. I think I have that here somewhere as an idea, but yeah, here it is, tofu sour cream recipe, Forks Over Knives cookbook. That's a really good one. And then, oh yeah, and then I just wanted to go over, here's another recipe, layered bean casserole. And then just kind of one last tip I wanted to give for meal serving ideas. I give this to patients all the time, because if you have multiple people in your household, and some people are eating plant-based, some are not, one idea for how to kind of make everybody happy, so you're not like a short order cooking one meal for your spouse and another meal for yourself. One idea, and we've done this a lot, we did this pre-pandemic. My family, we have a tradition, my sister's family and kind of our extended family, we always get together on Sundays for dinner. That was kind of always our tradition before the pandemic. And we had some people that were plant-based eaters and some that were not. And so one idea, what we did a lot was we did a buffet style, kind of serving the food buffet style. And it does dirty up a few more dishes, but it actually is really, really convenient, works really well. And so what you do is you kind of have a theme. So we have a potato bar, a pasta bar, a salad bar, a burrito bowl bar. So we kind of would pick a theme, and then we have the ingredients. So you have your potatoes are there, and then you have all the toppings. And so people that want to put meat and cheese and regular sour cream on theirs, or whatever they can. And those of us that have the steamed vegetables and the grains and the beans and then our own dressings and things and sauces to put on there, we could do that ourselves. So same with the pasta theme, the salad theme, the burrito bowl theme. So you can kind of picture what that would look like. Everything's all just spread out and everyone's happy because you can just put the toppings on that you want. So that's just a way to kind of make it work for everybody. I wanted to share with you guys here. So yeah, so this is here on the website. Let me show you the salad dressing recipes. That's what I wanted to show you here. So handouts from class here, and it's right here, no oil salad dressings. So you click that, and there's I think there's 34 recipes here, and there are two. It says no oil salad dressings, but I'll just give you the down low here. There's actually are two recipes on here that do have oil. And there are two of the Asian recipes, dressing recipes have a little bit of oil, but all the other, I think the 32 out of the 34 do not. So yeah, all these different salad dressing recipes. So if you're trying to find dressings to dip your vegetables in, to put on your salads, whatever you use salad dressing for, there's lots of great recipes here for that. So that is what I had for you guys.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. Are there any questions I know there's been a group that's been talking about flax, and there's flax seeds and flax meal, and flax meal can kind of spoil after about a month. So you keep it in the refrigerator. Flax seeds can be kept out for months. So we grind ours once a day, but that's the flax seed issue. Scott, 54 people. It's largest since the pandemic began. This is a topic we need to continue to pursue, it looks like.
Yeah, that's great.
Pretty exciting to have this many people in the room with us. Christine and I are gonna share some of the pictures with you now, and then we'll open up to some questions here in a moment. So
you need to bring your camera down a little bit, Charlie. We just see the tops of your heads. There you go.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if we can share this. Can you see this? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to start with breakfast, everybody. And we're going to just share pictures with you. You're going to see what you might like, what you think, well, I don't know if I could do that. You don't have to eat any of this. We've had kind of a transition over the years, and you can all kind of see what's involved here. We have these a serving of blueberries, which is a half a cup. We have, you see what these things are? Beans. Yeah, we eat beans with breakfast. It was sort of weird when we got started, but start out with a small amount and add them up there. Then there are some greens. If you look here, it looks like there's some steamed greens in here, and Christine chops up maybe a leaf of collard, a leaf of chard, a leaf of kale, and some Brussels sprouts, broccoli. And you know, you don't have to do this every single day. We've kind of gotten the habit of doing it. And you see this little guy here? It's a mushroom, which over the last year, we've had a mushroom every day with breakfast. It gets steamed with the other steamed greens. You see there's some fruit over here. There's some oranges. This is a dehydrated apple, I believe. And here's a pepper, red or green, you know, orange pepper. There's some garlic that's hidden in the bottom of this. It doesn't have sprouts and everything, but we'll get to that. And then you see these little pills over here. This is the vitamin B12, or at least one of them. This is a 500 microgram. For those of us who are over age 65, we do a full 1,000 micrograms. That's 2 of these. And then these were 1,000 international units of vitamin D3. We do 2,000 most of the time, except when we get a lot of sunlight in summer. Winter, we may even go up to 5,000 units of vitamin D3. So this is one picture of breakfast, but that's only half the breakfast because we're hungry and there aren't a lot of calories there. So this is the second half of breakfast. I eat mine a little different than Christine. I have kind of like either, this looks like it might be bulgur, but it could be oats, could be groats, could be any kind of whole grain or quinoa or anything you want. And then at this time, we were sprinkling on a little chia seed. Well, you know what this little bowl is here? Anybody take a guess? That's our little Chihuahua's part of her meal in the morning. Has some vegetables also, but she gets some of the whole grain that we get along with her V dog food. Okay, we'll get to that some more. Now, what's the difference between what Christine likes and what I like? She can tell you what she likes. You can see it for yourself. I'm kind of a plain savory guy, and Christine is. She's a sweet girl. And she likes those blueberries in there, and she likes to add her walnuts in with it for a little crunch. And I like to eat mine separate, but you know, you can do what you want. And then as far as a milk, we do a plant milk of some sort. We used to started with soy, then we went to almond, and now we make our own soy. You don't have to make your own, you can buy it, but we just like to do that, saves on cartons and stuff. Okay, so add that to the greens and the fruit that you saw, and you see our stomach is getting pretty full by about this time. Is there any more to breakfast? Not really. So this is how our breakfast sort of starts out. If you want to see the amount of greens that's steamed down to a cup apiece, it's about this much. It's quite a few leaves, like maybe 4 or 5 leaves of and that's about 4 cups, and we split it between the 2 of us. She's steaming that now, and it comes down to quite low or a small amount. At that time, we were eating some grapefruit and strawberries and a little broccoli. And then this is the golden milk, which is turmeric was put in there. I wasn't a big fan of having turmeric in milk. And we sprinkle it on our food, but sometimes we use these capsules. Okay, with a pinch of pepper. Okay, so I wanted to kind of peel back the bowl of greens and fruit that we eat so you can kind of see what that looks like. Here's some chives in summer. Here's some of the garlic along with it. It's just a clove of garlic in here that's chopped up. There's a couple tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, maybe 3 or 4, little radish, small orange or mandarin or what are they are, ever they are at the time. Here's a little radicchio with some dark green colored lettuce, like a romaine. But that's just okay, dark green leafy, and then or just a green leafy. And then we kind of pile on a few more things on into the plate. What goes into it? The steamed greens goes on top. The beans go on here next. You see this mushroom over here. Sometimes we'll have cauliflower instead of broccoli. But the colors, I want you to think about the colors. Are these meals colorful? Are they appetizing? What do you think? What about this colorful we had on our back porch? When we were up in West Fur. Here's the steamed greens, here's some beans, here's a little salsa, here's a little kiwi, little broccoli, some orange, some jicama. So you can add a huge different variety and put in what you like. If you don't like something, you don't use it. If you want to try something, when you blend those flavors, my mouth is starting to water. And now, what do you see over to the side here? This is part of our dogs, along with the whole grains. She gets a broccoli or pepper or radish or jicama. She gets what we eat. She loves beans now, and she'll eat kiwi and you name it. This dog is unbelievable, but yeah,
That's the only thing.
and blueberry she's not wild about. Okay, here's another plate. Look at the colors. I'm not going to go through everything, but Christine sometimes adds a few pumpkin seeds on the top. I think she did. And if you see this yellow color, this is a little mustard powder. For those who cook your broccoli, you want to add back in a little mustard powder because it has the enzyme that will give you the most amount of sulforaphane. So you're trying to eat broccoli for the boost immunity and fight cancer. So if you cook the broccoli too much, you destroy the enzyme. So to reensure that you're going to get the max amount, add a pinch of mustard powder. It's a very small amount, and you'll get the full benefit. Any questions? There's a little arugula here at the top. If you haven't heard of that before, it's a little bittery taste, but it really tastes good once you get used to it. By the way, there's a little dulse in the steamed greens every day. Okay, another plate, again, colorful, similar thing. These bowls look different on different days, but I just wanted to make sure you get the full meal deal, the full flavor of how colorful, attractive, and tasty these meals can be. And here's a dehydrated apple, which we sprinkled some nutritional yeast on, and it was even a taste treat. So have we had enough with breakfast? I think so. Here's the last breakfast meal. Oh, there's one more. We want to add a little touch of the garden in there. There it is. What are these called? Nasturtium. So Christine put a couple of the nasturtiums for a little colorful flavor. And look at underneath the nasturtiums. Do you see these little things down here? These are broccoli sprouts that we grow. You can buy them in the store and spend a lot of bucks, or you can grow them yourself very easily and cost pennies and gives you that sulforaphane bang for your buck. Notice that there's some pumpkin seeds, this is some turmeric on here, which was sprinkled on, and the beans and the greens and broccoli, some more. We get plenty of dark green
But I
leaves.
think it's important, Scott brought up this point that it can be overwhelming to new people when they're looking, they're saying, I'm not gonna do this, that's crazy. And we didn't start out like this. We started out with like one leaf of greenie, in our oatmeal. I mean, it was a very gradual process for us, and this is 10 years down the road. So don't be intimidated, please.
Thanks for sharing that, because that's so important. I share this with you because I want you to again realize the greens are just not enough. Like Scott said, you need to add some other calorie content in there. The oats or groats or bulgur or quinoa, kamut, those add their, I don't know, 400 to 600 calories a pound. And get a bowl of those also. Christine likes some peaches in hers with the walnuts. You don't have to use blueberries. If you don't like them, you can put in whatever you want. We're done with breakfast. Let's get on to lunch. Some of you like burgers. Some of you like fries. These are fries made without oil. How did you make these? It is.
Those I think I baked in the oven.
Okay, so you just bake the sweet potato.
Yeah, I sliced a sweet potato and baked it, put some spice on it and baked it in the oven.
Very simple, very easy to do.
That's before I had the air fryer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then here is a burger-like looking thing. So Christine makes her own rolls here. This is one of the recipes that kind of goes a little outside of our totally whole food plant-based because it has a little oil, doesn't it?
It does. It has a little oil, but it's made with spelt flour, whole wheat flour, a little almond flour, quinoa. I add flax meal, but it does have about 1/4 of a cup of olive oil in it. I've tried my best to make it without any, and it just does not work. And it's and with the plant milk, it's about 1.5 cups of plant milk in it.
So you wanna, if you're on a totally oil-free, you don't want to be incorporating these into your program. If you're, like 1 foot in the grave and one on the banana peel, you want to kind of avoid these things. But if you're otherwise young and healthy and have no problems and you want to incorporate some of this, not a problem. Okay, here's the next.
A lot of old things here. Okay.
Here is one of those rolls with hummus on top of it. Fresh corn, green beans, salad, a little avocado, and
tomato.
Again, the colors. Think about eating the colors of the rainbow. This was a bread attempt that you made with a 4-ingredient bread. Tell them about what happened with that.
That was about 9 years ago, and I can hardly remember. But that was that was a recipe from one of our class attendees, and
it was not a lead brick, but it was.
Can't hear you.
It was close.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear us? Oh dear.
Let's see. Can't hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just maybe Christine can speak a little bit louder. It's a little bit harder to hear Christine.
Yeah, I've got that soft little voice, Yeah, I'm not sure why Charlie put this picture in here because it was so long ago that I made it. And as I think it was, like 3 ingredients: the whole wheat flour, the yeast, and water. And I just wasn't a great fan of it. Besides, I don't know, it was too much bread. I'm not sure why you put that picture.
Because everything is not a success. Sometimes it looks okay, but it can be a flop. So I just want people to know that. How about this? This is when we were first transitioning and we had to have a cookie. It was just like, there was no way. Now, we don't generally eat foods like this, but this was early on foods you experimented with, and
I don't remember
It tasted good at the time. I think it was made with some black beans or whatever it might be. All right. Salads you already know about. Here is again a variety of different colors and flavors, salsas in the center, avocado surrounding it a little bit. There is some tomatoes, and these are sweet potato fries, which are not fried in oil. Okay. Here is a bowl, which we've kind of come to learn to eat out of quite a bit.
I think this is some air fried tofu.
And how do you air fry the tofu?
Oh, it's so easy. What I do is I cube the tofu up, and I use for a marinade I use coconut aminos, and I sprinkle a little of put the cubed tofu in a little bag, plastic bag, put some coconut aminos in there, let it marinate for a bit, and then I take a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast and I add a couple tablespoons of whatever your favorite spice is. And I guess the amount is going to depend on what the spice is, an Asian spice or curry spice, whatever you prefer. And then I throw that in the bag and shake it all up, and I pop it in the air fryer and cook it for 10 to 12 minutes, and it's always a winner.
My mouth is watering again. And then you see it's on a bed of rice and some veggies cooked. You may resort to growing some of your own veggies. This was the largest cauliflower or broccoli that I've ever grown in my life. It was last summer. It was quite fun. And now we're getting into just a little bit of the equipment that you may want for your kitchen. Here is a nut grinder where we grind the flax we keep the flax seeds in this container and just grind a tablespoon apiece. Give some to our dogs, so we grind a little bit more. And then here's the air fryer that we use. It's become a very important part of the kitchen. The Insta Pot, which many of you have, it's very helpful for cooking beans, making your own beans for the week.
We actually have 2 sizes of Insta Pots in our kitchen. A small one that I use for doing groats and kamut, and then the larger one that I cook our beans in.
And then this is the soy bellow machine where we just fill that half full of water, and then we soak some soybeans for 4 hours and then run it through this machine over about 20 minutes, and you have soy milk. Put it in a container, and you don't need to keep throwing away cartons. We do that about every 3 days. This is the blender. I can't remember the name of it, but
It's a good one.
Blend Tech, but Vitamix works good, and some other ones, whatever works for you. It's a handy kitchen aid. Then we get into chocolate. We used to eat a lot of chocolate and loved it. And then my daughter-in-law got us into eating some cacao, not just 60 or 70% cacao, but 100% cacao. Doesn't have the same amount of fat that chocolate has. It's not the same sweetness, but boy, your taste buds soon get to learn to like it. And it's become a taste treat for me. I don't eat it all the time, but occasionally it's good. Here's some of the soups that Scott was talking about. It's a kind of like a chowder.
Yeah, this is potatoes, carrots, celery, barley. One of the things I do, I make soup at least once a week, and I make a pot of beans for our breakfast beans. I make that about once a week. And what I do when I make the beans is I take the beans out and put them in a container to keep in the fridge. But then all of the broth that is left from the beans, I save that for making my soup. And so that's what I use for the stock for the soup. And I add a lot of spices to that. So it's just really got a great flavor. I don't
It
know.
looks good.
My mouth is watering again.
Yeah,
Hey, Charlie, we had people asking where you get that 100% cacao.
So you can get it at Whole Foods and you can buy it online. There's a place in Cottage Grove that makes it, I think. So, but remember, give yourself some time to get used to 100% cacao. You know, it took me about maybe 5 or 6 times trying it. Took small little bites because at first it really blasts you with a bit of bitterness.
and I've never gotten used to it, so there you go.
The individual differences sometimes. Okay, so here is our bowl dinner again or lunch. If you see, you could put potato. This is sweet potato that's peeking its little arm out here. And on top of it, there's some maybe black beans or regular, any kind of beans, then some salsa, a little avocado maybe, and then the plate filled with greens. And then for dessert, it's fruit.
That's what we had for dinner tonight, actually.
Yeah. And so again, you can make whatever you want. A little grain, a little bean, a little vegetable, and a little fruit. And you've got a meal. This here is tofu with potatoes. It's your
tofu scramble.
Tofu scramble. Here's another tofu scramble with some pasta, which we didn't like the pasta at all, I don't think, with this, but I took a picture. And this was not a very colorful plate, but it was a tasty one. It had potatoes and beans and some vegetables and broth. And then you could add some hummus and if you wanted to do that with some green. Here's some tofu over here. You can air fry that or you can bake it. Here's a little, this was kimchi a little bit. And we're going to talk about that at one point because someone asked a question about it. And then here's some rice, greens, and a little roll. And this was, I think, from a package from what's the company, Leaf something, which we didn't like all that well. So you can Leaf Side, you can get prepared foods, mix them with water. Patagonia has them, and you know, if you're going on trips and you need to just add water and eat some food, that may not look all that attractive. There was some tofu on top of that. This here, frittata. Yeah, it's a frittata, tofu with vegetables. And then this here, I'm just going to kind of glance through some. You get the idea that you can eat out of bowls, have different colors, different foods. You don't see a lot of wraps or a lot of breads in our foods. This here is some pasta, which we tried, and I don't think we were wild about that. But this is more frittata and a salad. The sweet potato, black beans and veggies, a stir fry. Here's some beets that are kind of shredded up. And if you've not had fresh beets before and shredded them, it's quite a different taste treat than eating cooked beets. So we'd encourage you to do that. Edamame beans are really tasty and fun. And can be a treat. These are golden beets. Again, tofu on rice with some veggie, tacos if you want to do that. Enchiladas is kind of one of the favorite treats that we have occasionally. This here is a treat. This is, we buy this tempeh from Syrah. And we put it in the freezer, then we thaw it out, and Christine marinates this tempeh and makes a Reuben sandwich. It has kimchi or sauerkraut on the top of this. I think that's homemade kimchi, actually. It was some homemade kimchi that I had made. Here's a pizza. So for those of you just dying to have pizza, you can make a vegan pizza if you choose to. You don't have to totally deprive yourself. And there's no cheese there, but there's a lot of sauce on this. Let's see, I don't know why that's on there a second time. Salsa, you can have different kinds of salsa. You can make your own chips. We've tried, never really been that successful at it, have we? Okay, and then again, the bowl, you just put a little tofu, a little rice, some veggies, more greens, more frittata, and then fruits and veggies that you can have around the house on your countertop so that if you get hungry, you have something to snack on. And even our dog knows how healthy it is to eat plants. And you can see her licking her chops over that broccoli and pepper and whatever. Okay, we had to share that with you. And here is a potluck that we had up in Oak Ridge, and you see what it looks like here. Many foods you can eat, colorful, fun to eat, mouth-watering, tasty. And if you don't like that, you can grow your own foods. And here's some broccoli sprouts that we sprout on our own. This is after about 4 days of growth. You can put them out in the sun at this time and green them up for a day or two, and you can eat your own broccoli sprouts. You can grow your own mung beans. This is what they look like on about the 4th day or so. These are sprouted garbanzo beans that are about the 3rd or 4th day. And we're eating those most every day now because they're good, they're easy to make. Sunflower seeds are harder to grow, but they taste marvelous. And if you want to do that, there's some good videos on that. We'll do a session on this sometime about growing your own food. And then here is pears that are sliced up and dehydrated. You can do this with apples, pears. We've done it with oranges and other foods. It's good snacks to have around the house. And with that, we are done. I just wanted to talk about kimchi for a moment. Someone asked about it and said, you know, Dr. Greger says kimchi is not very healthy because the salt leads to stomach cancer. Other people say we disagree with that. We think it's healthy because of the bacteria in there. It's, you know, populates your microbiome and, you know, so yeah, there's pros and cons and back and forth. And, you know, my take is this. I still am going to go by Dr. Greger. I've cut my kimchi use way, way down. I may have it as a little garnish on the side, but no longer am I using big handfuls of it or making it all the time because of the salt content. I like the taste. He probably likes the taste, but he's looked at the science. He looks at every article around the world with his 19 other people. I trust him to give the best advice for the present. And so that's who I would go with, but you could choose to go with others and eat a little more kimchi. I think Dr. Bolshevich, he likes kimchi. The younger people like it. I don't know. Do you have a take on this, Scott, about kimchi, whether it's healthy or not healthy?
Yeah, I've never tried it myself, but yeah, I remember the Dr. Greger videos about the high salt content. But probably if you really like it, it's probably fine to have a small amount once in a while.
Okay. All right. Now,
Mm.
we have a few people who want to share. Cheryl, go ahead, ask your question. Then we have a couple more people who are going to share what they like.
So what's the difference between the kimchi and the sauerkraut?
Not a whole lot. The
True.
kimchi has different vegetables, but they both have a lot of salt. They
Yeah.
both have a cabbage base, but kimchi tends to have more different veggies in it. That's my take. Korean kimchi also has sometimes fish in it, but I don't make mine with fish.
No.
Okay, so I want to ask Velvet next to kind of share. I think she's around. You can chime in with your comments, and then we'll go to Lisa, and then we'll see who else in the room has comments.
You're breaking my heart with this kimchi talk because I eat it like every day on my breakfast.
Oh.
It's like a daily thing for me now. So
Okay,
that's disappointing.
I'm so sorry.
I think I'll unhear that whole conversation.
Well,
So
there are
what-
some people who think it's probably okay, but you really need to be careful about the salt.
Yeah. Okay.
And-
Well,
and there
what
are
did
some
you guys?
brands. I was just going to say, Velvet, there are some brands, like I'm looking at the one in my fridge, and there's just 100 milligrams of sodium, 4% in 1 ounce. So I think it sounds okay.
Yeah, I'll have to check mine and see.
Good, good. Yeah,
Oh.
check yours out.
What did you guys want me to talk about?
Whatever you'd like. You have any favorite recipes, or how did the transition go for you into
Oh.
this? What have the challenges been, and what's been easy, what's been hard?
And one thing I would add for you, Velvet, would be to just kind of, because you have a family and everything, so maybe give people a few tips on how you plan your meals out, how you kind of prep for the week, maybe just a couple of tips like that as well.
Yeah, so we keep a whiteboard in our kitchen because we're a family of 5. And so we both work and I go to school. And so we have a whiteboard. And so we just plan out the whole week for dinners, and lunches and breakfasts we're kind of on our own. We do our own thing, but at least plan out dinners so we know what we're going to do when we get home. And then every Friday I go to the store and go grocery shopping for the week. Transition was fairly easy, I must say, other than me liking sweets a lot. But after I figured out I can eat as much fruit as I want, I kind of was like, okay. So I eat smoothies a lot for breakfast. I eat a pretty big smoothie for breakfast, and then maybe a snack, maybe some more fruit, and then do salads, and usually I do leftovers for lunch a lot of the times. So we do like taco bowls and soups. We've made like a bean, like tortilla soup. That's really good. Gosh, this is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, you're doing fine.
But big tip that I've learned for smoothies is freezing my bananas. So I buy the red tag bananas at the store, and they're super cheap. They're really ripe. They're the ones that no one wants to buy. And then I peel them all, put them on a cookie sheet, and throw them in the freezer overnight, and then just put them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer. And that way I don't have to put any ice in my smoothies. And that helps. That's a huge thing that I do for prep. And other than that, I don't use any frozen fruit. I buy mostly fresh fruit because I just don't like the frozen fruit as much.
Nice.
And then, yeah, tofu scrambles for breakfast and all kinds of stuff. I don't know. I love this. It's fun. That's all I have, I think, unless you guys have questions for me.
Do you use jackfruit?
I use jackfruit all the time. So we use it for tacos. We've used it as a replacement for like chicken and chicken tortilla soup. We used it as like a pulled pork sandwich type thing. We'll use jackfruit for that with barbecue sauce, and you can get barbecue sauce with no sugar in it. Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
love jackfruit.
So do you buy it as a can?
I can't hear you.
I don't know why. So do you buy it in a can? How do you buy your jackfruit?
I can't hear you for some
Yeah,
reason, Chris.
Do you buy it in a can?
I do buy the canned one just because it's easier for our family, and I rinse it. Yeah.
Okay. Velvet, thank you for sharing that with the group, and they may have a question or two for you. And Lisa Chick, go ahead and share with us your thoughts.
Everybody. It's so nice to see so many people here. And I want to mention that there are 2 osteopathic medical students here joining me tonight too. I kind of hooked them in from a talk that we were in last hour from an integrative medicine doctor in Texas. So I'm really excited that 2 of these first years hopped onto this meeting too, and hopefully they got something out of it or will continue coming. Hopefully that restores some faith in you all too. I know a lot of you are passionate about getting this type of information out to medical students too. I'll share my screen. I don't have as many fancy pictures as Dr. Ross and Christine, so I just have to share the website images for some recipes. I also don't, hopefully I'm sharing the right thing. I also don't follow these recipes to a T per se, but they give me some good ideas and some inspiration. So this is one that I found recently because I love tofu because it's so versatile. You can use it in anything. You can make it like in this case, like a ground beef. So I could use it in a lot of Mexican style recipes, or you can use tofu like Christine was talking about in the air fryer and do like an Asian style tofu. So this one is so easy. You just crumble the tofu. I don't think that I did have to press it for 15 minutes just to get some of the liquid out, and then just mix these ingredients in with it, and below it tells you how much. And then I spread it out on a baking sheet and put it in the oven, took it out halfway, mixed it around, and then baked it a little bit more. So I actually did take a picture of this one because it was just so easy and so fast. And it really looked like ground beef to me, which I thought was pretty cool. So I think this is before I put it in the oven. And then afterwards, I used it in this taco salad type of meal. So I really like that. And I could keep the extra in the fridge and use it later for another recipe, which is a big thing for me. I like to have ingredients that I can use for lots of different types of entrees because I like variety and I like convenience. So the next recipe, this crispy air fried, Christine already talked about how to do this, but it's just so good and so fast, and you can put whatever seasonings. I know it has sesame oil here. I don't put oil in it and it's fine. You can put it in the air fryer and it's done in 10-15 minutes. And sometimes I just snack on this too. I just eat it kind of like by itself as a snack. So I definitely recommend trying this one. Aside from tofu kind of being a blank canvas that you can use for a lot of different meals, I also really like black beans and really any type of beans. This is not a recipe that I've made, but I found it when I was trying to find something similar to what I do make. And of course, we love forks over knives. So I guess this is just a Mexican style vegan bean and rice casserole. It looks really easy. Not too many ingredients. Most of them are just seasonings. And then it's one of those that just goes in the oven. So I would definitely like to try this out soon. But what I do is just take beans and I just put seasoning with it. And then I can use that in my taco salad. I can use it with whatever meal I have. I just put some on and it's in the fridge. It's ready for me to just use it in whatever I'm eating. This recipe I posted on our Facebook page a little while ago. I've recently been very interested in dates and using them in baking or whatever cooking. So this is the first recipe that I did with dates and it was really easy. I actually did it to give away as Christmas gifts because I was on a budget. still am on a budget. So these are all very budget friendly things. And it was really easy and it was fun to make. And I did splurge a little bit on an immersion blender. So I'm looking for a lot of soup recipes too now. I know you guys have a lot. So the immersion blender definitely helps with that. But I used it for this recipe and it was really fast. You could use this to make applesauce too. And then the apple butter is just basically a reduced version of the applesauce.
I want to chime in a second and tell you that's a magnificent recipe. I did it myself, tried it, and it was just like my mouth is watering again. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and our grandkids,
Yeah.
can't hear me. So
Oh,
just saying.
and our grandkids, what? They
down.
gobbled it down. They loved it.
It is so good. And people ask me what you can put it on. And honestly, you can just eat it by itself, like applesauce. But you can also put it in oatmeal. You could put it on whole wheat toast. That's kind of my go-tos. I think Dr. Ross, you said what did you put it on?
We ate it by itself, but we also put it on Christine's roll that you saw earlier, that spelt roll.
Yes. Yeah, so it's really easy. It's very pretty. It will make your house smell incredible too.
Yep.
This is another date sweetened recipe that I found this week that I really love because I love hot chocolate. And here in Los Angeles, it's actually been the tiniest bit gloomy. So I've put my sweaters on, I've gotten my hot tea and my hot chocolate out to take advantage of this weather, which may sound odd to you all in Oregon, but I like to take advantage of the rainy weather here. Very easy. I just did this in the microwave actually, and then put it in the blender. So it's just the non-dairy milk, some dates, and then cacao powder. And then I did not put any salt on it. My mistake with this was that I did not blend it long enough. So I had little chunks of dates in there, but it turned out fine because they were kind of like little marshmallows in my head. So I still really liked it. And just 5 minutes and it was so good. Okay, and then I know we had some discussion on the Facebook group about jackfruit, and I guess you're either an advocate or you're a hater. And that's okay. I tried it out for the first time cooking it myself not too long ago, and I sort of used a recipe similar to this as a Chinese stir fry. And the jackfruit had a little bit of like a tangy taste to it. And it didn't have the texture that I like from air fried tofu. So I might try some sort of jackfruit in the air fryer to kind of dry it out and make it a little bit chewier. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so these are a few pictures actually from when I was a teacher in Denver, and I was working through AmeriCorps at an underserved elementary school. So we started this cooking class for the kids, and I was obviously very passionate about it. And one of our first recipes was tacos. And yes, there is cheese here because I had to gain their trust, and the kids love cheese. But there's no beef. We did a black bean taco instead, and they had a lot of fun. And, they didn't really mind that there wasn't any meat in it. And it was a good way to have them try something new that was still familiar to them. So it was just a little trip down memory lane for me to look at some of these pictures, but really easy. Still familiar. And then these were spring rolls. After I had gained a little bit more of their trust, we tried to make these spring rolls that were a little bit messy, but it was really fun for them. And they get to combine whatever vegetables that they liked in it. I've seen people do this with fruit in it too. So kind of a fun way to combine some more fruits and vegetables together. Okay, so this next thing is actually something that I use every single day, maybe multiple times a day. This is how I steam anything. The price has gotten really high. I bought this a long time ago and it was maybe half this price, but I'm sure you can find this in other places too. And you don't have to put fish in it, but I just use it for broccoli. I use it for mostly broccoli, but any vegetables. You could even put, oh, I did a sweet potato in here the other day because normally I poke holes in my sweet potato, wrap it in a wet paper towel and stick it in the microwave. But I did that. It didn't really cook through all the way. So I tried putting it in the steamer and it actually worked really well too. So I would definitely recommend this. I know Dr. Ross and Christine, you said you do a lot of steamed vegetables. So how do you guys steam?
Well, we steam ours in our Insta Pot, Lisa. I have a steamer basket and there's this, it has a steam option. And so I steam for 1 to 2 minutes. And then a quick release, and it works very well.
Okay,
It's fast, so.
That sounds really good. I mean, yeah, this takes about the same time. I usually do about 2 minutes for broccoli, or you can cut them smaller and do it faster, but it's so fast. It's just so convenient and it's easy to wash. The cleanup is practically nothing. This is what I love to do on Tuesday nights when the new ad comes out for my grocery store for the next week. This is how I get a lot of ideas to try different recipes, is I just look at the ad because, again, on a budget, and I just see what's on sale. So usually there's fruits or vegetables on top here. Some nut thing is on sale. Some obviously not a lot of good things too are on sale, but then some canned beans or tomato sauce. And then the last page has all the good stuff. And I just look at this and I think about what I can make from these ingredients. I posted on the Facebook page a while ago a screenshot of this to see if any of you would have ideas for meals or recipes. And it was kind of a reminiscent of that TV show Chopped. If any of you are familiar with it, it's where contestants, it's not whole food plant-based, so I don't blame you if you disregard it, but the idea was that people would get a basket of random ingredients and have to make some sort of gourmet meal out of it. So this is kind of my version of that, and there's always something here that I haven't tried either, like this squash. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but there's always something new for me to try, and if it's on sale, I don't feel bad about it going bad, or if the recipe doesn't turn out well because it was on sale.
Lisa, that squash is really good in like stews.
Okay, yeah.
It's like used in a lot of Mexican stews.
That's
really
what I
good.
saw on a quick Google search. So yeah, I'll be interested to try it too. And then this is my sweet potato that looked like a heart, and I thought it was fitting. Somebody asked about sweet potato. Mine are different all the time. Sometimes I go more sweet, sometimes I go more savory. This one just had random spices in it, nutritional yeast, I think. So that's it.
Lisa, thank you. That was great. I particularly like how you're taking the ad and the on sale items and planning some new treats.
Yeah, it's kind of a puzzle too, because I'll look at a bunch of different stores and see what I can combine to make something good.
That was wonderful. Now we're going to open up to the group. Any questions for anyone, or anybody else would like to make a statement about anything? That's what this time is for. Share away or ask away.
This is Dolly.
Hello, Dolly.
Hi. I just found this salad dressing over at Walmart, Skinny Girl brand, and it's fat-free and sugar-free, and it's absolutely delicious. It's a raspberry vinaigrette. Very, very good.
Okay, so we use balsamic vinegar, so a vinaigrette seems like a reasonable thing, and if it's fat and sugar free,
Yep.
good job.
They have poppy seed dressing and just regular balsamic vinaigrette as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to put in that early on when we were new to this, every meal was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna have? But someone told me about the Nutmeg Notebook site with Tom and Tammy that live outside of Sacramento. And they just do wonderful, wonderful meals. And one day she told about her batch cooking. So there's a day when she cooks up a pot of rice, a pot of beans. She'll cook some Yukon Gold potatoes and a couple of sweet potatoes and some quinoa. And it's good for all week. And that made such a difference for me. I could just go to the fridge, open up the doors. Oh, I've got this already done, that already done. And it was so easy to put a meal together. So that was a real big help to me.
Well, thank you for that reference. That's great. Anybody else?
I just have something else to say about the kimchi.
Yes, Helen.
Okay, what I found disappointing is that when I looked at Dr. Greger's site, because I saw that he was the only one that was really saying he didn't go for kimchi, his research was very old, 2010.
Well,
and it's
now,
still out there.
Yeah, so 2010 is what, 11, almost 12 years old.
Yeah.
But I guess my response, if I were talking with him, would be he has been, since over the last 10 years, reviewing every article on nutrition. And if there were new data or truly new information, he, in my mind, would have adjusted his recommendations to change his point of view after that time. He does these flashback Friday videos, in other words, and he may choose to adjust some of the information based upon the latest. So we could write to him on his site and say, you know, this seems to be old data. You've got a lot of younger people who say, no, that's wrong. What's your response to that? And he or one of his people would give a response. Are you aware you could do that?
No, but I think I might, just out of curiosity.
I think it would be a fun thing to pursue. Kim, do you have a comment about this since your hand's up?
No, nothing about that. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So
Kim.
Helen, while we're on this, I don't want to ignore it. I think it's an important issue. It goes to who do you trust
Exactly.
for your health information. And in my mind, I've watched him and listened to him through the years, who he interacts with, the kind of seminars with the people around him. And I still trust him with my life, so to speak. And so I think it would be valuable to write him a little note and see what his response is. Bonda, your hand is up. Did you have something that was relating to this topic? Otherwise, we'll go to Kim next.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
I had a question about the kimchi that you make.
Yes.
Do you put salt in yours?
I have, and I use less salt than is recommended, but not nearly enough less. So I just haven't been making it over the last few months, actually.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kim.
So I just wanted to reiterate about Brol, which is my breakfast mainstay. That is Dr. Greger's multi-cereal, and it's so versatile. You can add any kind of grain, and it's so wonderful, and it can be sweet and savory. And I use it instead of any other grains. Like if I needed a rice, I use my brol. So it's really nice to have for that. And also, it's so exciting to see what's going on Instagram. There's so many wonderful recipes that if you need an inspiration, just go on Instagram. And I follow like 5 or 6 different chefs or even home cooks. And like the other day, I made this, it looked so great. It was a vegan nacho tray. And the sauce was like a cheese sauce, fake cheese sauce, but it was potatoes and carrots and nutritional yeast. And it was delicious on my brol the next morning with an avocado. So, I mean, you can, all kinds of great ideas on Instagram. So if you haven't done it, check out the Instagram vegan or whole food plant-based people, because there are some great ideas.
Yeah, would you, for the group's sake, explain what the brol is? What do you eat in it?
It stands for barley, rye, oat, and lentil. So it's a breakfast cereal or any kind of cereal, and it has protein in it because of the lentils. But I put quinoa, I put sorghum, I put farro, whatever grain I have, and it has a nice crunch, a nice texture. I actually don't put that much oatmeal. I put like 1 cup of oatmeal and then half a cup of all these other grains. So I make a huge thing in my slow cooker, and it takes only 2 hours, and I have it for a week, and it's delicious. No salt.
Very good. Okay, before I go on to Virgil and Marilyn, I want to just go back to Helen and tell Helen, make out your note to Dr. Greger, and I know how to insert it into any one of his videos to get a response from him. I'll be happy to do that.
I've already looked at his address.
Oh,
I've already gotten started.
okay, good. If you want to send it to me, I'll insert it. And if not, just send it to any one of his videos. There's a space to share it, and
Okay,
he'll respond.
Thank
Okay,
you for taking it. Thank you for taking it seriously. Now I know I can trust you.
okay, great. Virgil and Marilyn, who's next? Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm still waiting to see if he's telling the same story. But I mentioned this before. I like a sandwich sometimes particularly at lunch. I want something I can slap together and go.
Yeah.
And Dr. Esselstyn's book on to prevent and reverse heart disease has an easy, quick recipe for a black bean and oatmeal burger. Now it's not a burger, but it makes up. I put it on a big sheet with some parchment paper. I don't make burgers out of them. I just put in a big sheet, and I take my pizza cutter and I cut them into squares and bake them for whatever time it's. I don't know what time the limit it gives me here. I can't. But at 400 degrees, I bake it for a while, and then I check it because it depends on how you make it, the moisture that's inside.
Yeah.
You know, you can get too much. You can make it too moist, but you just bake it till it's the right texture. I bring it out and cool it. And I bag it up into baggies of 2 or 3 patties in it and put it in my freezer. And when I want a quick sandwich, I just grab that, throw it in the oven and air fry it real quick, get it hot, and it's done.
Christine said we did that recipe for years, our first 3 or 4 or 5 years, and we shared it with everybody. It's a wonderful recipe.
It
So
gives you
thanks.
it has the texture to it.
Yeah.
The chew.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Vonda, you had your hand up.
I did, and I took it down because I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, not a problem. You asked us about the VDOG information. The VDOG is a plant-based food for dogs. There's just about a year ago, over the last year, there's been a study done with it, and it showed good results according to our veterinary friends down in medical school in California. So just a thought for those of you who have animals, dogs in particular.
Yes, we ordered it, and I'm looking forward to giving it to our puppies.
All right, that's great. Anybody else have anything?
I just have one thing.
Go ahead, Velvet.
So if you like sandwiches, I think it's Forks Over Knives has like a no tuna it's a no tuna chickpea tuna salad kind of thing. And it
Yes.
tastes just like tuna salad. And
It's
I
called
made it,
untuna.
huh?
Untuna.
Without tuna.
Yeah.
But I made it for us. We were going to Crater Lake for the day to the snow, and I just put that in a container and brought some whole wheat bread, and we just put it on there really quick with some tomatoes and lettuce and onion and stuff, and it was great, and everyone liked it except for my one picky child, but it's super easy to make. So
Thank you.
yeah, and it makes a lot, so you can have it in the fridge and just use it for the week.
We love untuna.
Yes.
And there's a lot of great, been a lot of great questions and discussion, and that's why it's a great, next week's a great timing for an open forum format. So next week we're gonna have open forum, so nothing formal. We'll just talk about my introduction class, Charlie's introduction class last week, and then today's class, and we can just kind of answer questions, throw out more ideas. So after every 2 or 3 different more formal class topics, we're going to have these open forum formats so that it'll be a great time to kind of catch up, rehash some things, answer questions, kind of hopefully clarify a few things. And so hope you guys will come next week for that.
Okay. Wow, that session went fast.
Yeah, it did.
All right. I guess in
Thank
the
you
interest
both.
of time, everybody, thank you for coming. We're grateful for you all, and we hope you have a really good week, and we'll catch you the next time around.
Thank you both. That was a great session.
Thank you very much. And we'll see you in the movies.
In the movies. See the movies, Virgil.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Scott, thank you.
Scott.
Good night.